to Old Guys Reselling Podcast, episode 79, coming back at you. What is up, everybody? I'm Caleb from the Old Pass, and beside me is Josh, the Bama J Bird, and we are hanging out, having a good time.
Oh, yeah.
It is Monday before Christmas. When you guys watch this, it'll be Thursday after Christmas, but we forgot this last week. I don't know if you remember. We didn't say Merry Christmas.
No, well, yeah, we're going to come out. I didn't even think about that.
I know. I always forget.
It drops a couple days later, well, one day after, right? So
it's always where we're delayed. I forget stuff. But yeah, Merry Christmas a day late, everybody.
Sorry.
I used to love Christmas. I still love Christmas, but you know, it makes me think of my childhood. Man, I had a great childhood. You know, Dad used to roll me down the hill in tires. Those were good years.
You're explaining a lot right now.
I mean, those were good years.
I heard about people that rode down the hill in tires.
Yeah.
I taught some of them that rode down the hill in tires, as a matter of fact. And I can just tell you, I'll just tell you, they weren't the brightest kids I taught.
I think you missed it. Those were good years.
Good years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a dad joke. I hit you right out the gate, son.
Well, look at you. I'm serious, though. Did you never roll in a tire?
Yeah, a little bit.
You really did do it? I mean, look, I had kids that would do it out in the big hollers around here, like some of my students over the years, like drag a big tractor tire out and get in. I mean, it was dangerous, but funny.
Yeah.
My dad did stuff like that when they were kids, but we weren't allowed to, honestly. I probably would have. Probably the craziest thing we ever done was like ice storms. We'd usually throw us a car hood out because we had a couple of junk cars around the property.
Yep.
We'd throw one out with the top side up so you could use it for your sled. We had a big old hill that went across it's not a highway, it's a county road where our driveway was. I mean, you immediately went up the hill. And so we'd always throw a car hood out if we was having an ice storm or something like that. And we had several as a kid, 3 or 4 times up to the mid 80s and then mid-late 80s, and then they were pretty much over. But anyway, hadn't had one in a while. But that was a lot of fun. We get someone, we get somebody on the car hood, a couple of people pushing, and you hit the top of the hill and just let go and hope there's no cars coming because you're going all the way. You're jumping the road and going in the ditch on the other side out into the field. Yeah. I mean, if there had been a vehicle coming, you'd have been toast, but, we had fun.
Yeah, for sure. So you say you landed out in the field, huh?
Yeah, well, seriously, it was. I was outstanding too, in my field.
Dang it, you just messed me up.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, literally, you just hit the highway, and then there was just a little ditch, and usually you go right on across the ditch and out into the field across the road. But that was fun. Got to do that 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3 different times, I guess, where we had enough ice and snow to be able to do it. Then we one time out here where I live, when Trey was younger. I hooked the little flat bottom boat up behind the tractor and we went riding across the terraces all over the property, dragging it. That was a lot of fun too. So you find ways to have fun when you, so. Oh,
for sure.
But I never wanted to roll down the holler in a tractor tire. That was never. I
didn't want to go far. List. My thing was, you might do it, but I don't want to go all that far. I don't want to hit a tree. I don't want to roll out and get hit by a car.
Well, that's one of the things I saw with some of these kids slamming trees, man, and throw them out of that tire. And I thought, no, sir. And then I wonder, I wouldn't be able to get them to pay attention all week, like that whole week. They just sat there with this daze on their face.
Concussed, man.
Yeah.
They're like,
wake up.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man.
So, I don't know if you've noticed it yet, but I was hitting you with a couple of dad jokes right out the box because of this.
Oh, man. Killing me.
Chad, the quirky picker, hooked me up. And, man, this thing has 190 pages of nothing but dad jokes.
Nothing but help.
Did you know people don't think grass would be wet in the morning, but it do?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Oh, yeah. This is awesome.
Lord have mercy.
I don't trust people who do acupuncture.
Really?
Backstabbers.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to love this book. Oh, that's great.
Well, might as well get mine out of the way since you're dropping all these. You know what the favorite Christmas carol is in the psychiatric hospital?
Oh, I don't even know. Go ahead.
Do you hear what I hear?
Oh, that's pretty good stuff.
Oh man,
I love it. I was gonna say Silent Night, but yeah, that's kind of along the same line. Pretty good stuff.
Oh man.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Well, we're off to a roaring start, folks.
Yes, now that all of you are offended and gone, we appreciate it.
Everybody that tried it this week knew it's gone.
Yeah, they're like, these guys are nuts.
Not buying new subscribers. It's not you.
No, speaking of new subscribers, we did pick up 10 or 12 or something like that.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, finally, after 80 episodes. Thanks, Kevin.
No, we appreciate it. You gave us a little shout out.
Yeah, he gave us the shout out, and some of his folks come over and subscribe, and we appreciate it. And, we just, we ain't doing this for the money. Obviously, that 27 cents an episode is really not, keeping us afloat, but we just do it because we love, we're friends. We spend time together talking, and it just so happens that other people want to listen, and who knew?
Go figure, right?
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah, a few people like to listen.
Yeah, 5 or 6 of you that hang out until the very end. We appreciate you guys.
But we enjoy it. We really do. And that's what it comes down to. I think, and we won't linger long on this, but to me, that's what has made this so good for me, because it really is just like getting an hour or two each week to hang out with a friend and kind of, even though we talk about reselling some, we talk about life, we talk about other things, and it's just it's like detox time. It gives you a chance to just break away, get your mind clear, and I don't get a lot of adult conversation around here. I don't know about you.
There's 4 kids, and it's hard to get a word in edgewise sometimes.
Oh yeah, and you're married, so.
And I'm married, so you can be talking, but are you really talking?
Sorry, Mr.
Talking to the air.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble if I'm not careful.
Yeah,
but no, seriously, like around here for us, because Casey gets, I've said this before, but she leaves pretty early, gets home generally not before 5:30, sometimes 6 in the afternoon or evening. And so, by the time we go through the motions of kind of wrapping the day up, getting the necessary things done, having her dinner and stuff like that, there's not a ton of time before, she's pretty much ready to go to bed, because she's got an hour to drive again the next morning. And God knows I sure do appreciate her and thank her and love her for all that she does, because she contributes a lot to the family and a lot to the household and a lot to Mom and taking care of her. And certainly I don't deserve someone as good as I have, but I appreciate it.
Me too.
That's probably the best present I got.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Every day. So
does she disappear off the bed like she did when y'all was here? Just you start missing her? She's just gone.
What are you talking about, in the mornings?
No, like when it's bedtime, like she would be here and
disappear off the bed. I thought it said off the bed. I was like, what are we talking about? She will. Yeah, sometimes. Seriously, usually she tells me, like, we always say goodnight and stuff. So generally I know, but there have been times that I expected that she was coming back into the living room, and I like, after sitting there for 15 or 20 minutes, I'm like, what happened? So you get up and you go look, and you open the door, like, what are you doing? It's like, I was just tired. I was like, okay, that's fine. It's hard to complain. I'm a night person anyway. I get up too. I'm usually up no later than 7 most mornings. I know that's not like 4 o'clock in the morning, like, men working a factory job or something, but I've been there too, where I had to get up super early. But there's a lot of mornings I'm up by 6 or even before, but I'm usually up till at least 2 o'clock almost every, between 12 and 2 every night.
So 4 to 5 hours a night of sleep.
Yeah, about 5. According to, I have that fancy little machine, to help keep me alive at night.
Yeah, I got one of those too.
According to it, I average between, just around 5, sometimes a little less than 5.
So where you're so short, it must charge you up quicker. Like your battery's not as big as mine or something.
Well, there's different ways to measure size. So,
yeah.
I don't understand why we obsess with just height. Size,
We're not obsessed. It's just the truth's the truth.
There's room for a lot of batteries here. I'm just saying.
Well, I've got a lot of battery room too. Honestly. I was sitting there. I told Tanya I went to the store before this and dropped off everything. And I almost forgot Tanya's off all week, so I almost forgot that I have to keep working. That's a thing I didn't really consider. But I bought me some Dr. Peppers. I've been drinking them for a couple weeks again. And I was decided, because I've gained some weight, I'm like, okay, Tanya, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to enjoy this holiday the next 2 weeks. And I'm going to, and I've already made up my mind. Like, it's not just stop Dr. Pepper again, right? It's stop the sugar carbonated drinks again. Like, I'm going to go completely. I was drinking Sprite. I'd replaced my Dr. Pepper Sprite, which, okay, you don't have caffeine, but the caffeine isn't what's bad for your general health as far as weight gain and cholesterol.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I said, I'm gonna go to just water, milk, orange juice, sugar-free Kool-Aid, maybe sometimes. And then I'm going to try to do just a little bit better portion controlling and slow down on the sugar intake. Because sugar, man, it's a killer. Just slow down. And I don't like the term diet. Everybody says they're going on a diet.
Yeah, me either.
Resolution. And it don't work.
Words of it just gets me every time.
Yep. It just don't work for me.
Letters.
Like, I have to, 3 letters.
The first 3 letters. I said words.
Diet.
The first 3 letters, diet just always gets me.
Yeah. But it never works for me. So I always have to purpose to change my whole way of thinking. I can't, I don't know. When I was probably 30, I weighed 300 pounds, which I'm a little bit over that now, but I weighed 300 pounds. I got tired of it, and I got down to 235 in like 3 months.
Wow.
Now, I can't do that anymore. My metabolism is not what it used to be, but I can do it in a year. I can do that in a year. And I don't know if I'll get that low, but I'm going to make a good effort to get a little bit healthier. Just in general, overall, healthier.
Right.
Just because it's, when you're 41, I mean, I can tell you right now, when I eat too much, and we had a dinner at church last night, so I ate too much. We come home, I ate more too much, just constantly eating. But I get up today, and I'm glad you're enjoying my pain. But I get up
today. I'm thinking, so basically you're saying whenever it comes time to eat, that's just how
it's just what happens.
That's what it is for me. It's like it's so funny. We talk like the times I eat too much, like when I eat in the morning and when I eat in the
eat,
or whenever I eat.
Just generally when I open my mouth to stick something inside there, I'm eating too much.
Sorry, go ahead, brother.
No, I mean it's just the truth. But yeah, last night everybody's just hanging out in the kitchen, and we had sandwiches left over from that. So we're all just picking apart stuff, just standing there kind of picking at it. And it's 11 o'clock. I'm not even realizing what time it is. I'm eating, and I just go on to bed. And I'm like, that's such a horrible thing to do. I wake up hurting, and I've had heartburn all morning.
Oh, man. It's lifestyle. You said that about the diet word, and I'm not one to be giving a lot of dieting advice.
Don't come here for that.
A really healthy diet. But no, all kidding aside, it does take more the older you get. I do believe that. Different phases in my life, there were times where, like you said, I could simply just cut out sugar drinks, and over the course of a month or two, I dropped 10 or 15 pounds. And I'd usually go back to drinking my drinks. I would just drink less of it than I was before, and I could maintain for a while. Of course, over time, you tend, like I said, making poor judgment decisions on food. You may end up getting it back over time. 3 or 4 years later, you're back in the same boat again. But it was as easy as making that kind of a change. You didn't have to make a wholesale change. You could eliminate something, just eliminate something. I could eliminate sweet tea or something like that, and be really good to go. But nowadays, I already don't really drink any sugar drinks. A little bit of tea. Mostly I drink water with sometimes a mix in it, and I drink I drink some of the zeros, like the Pepsi Zero, and
man, them things are disgusting.
Well, I'm not a diet drink fan, but
oh my gosh, I haven't drunk a zero drink yet that I've enjoyed.
Really?
I have to drink that to get my Coke or my Dr. Pepper, my Pepsi fix. I'm good. I'll just drink water.
I felt the same way for a long time. I think, you have to, it's like with anything else. I wouldn't say it's an acquired taste, I think you have to give yourself a chance. You have to drink it enough to be able to adjust to the difference in the artificial sweeteners. But it's the same way. Like my wife buys those carbonated water drinks that's got no sugar or anything. It's like the LaCroix, I think is what they're called. The ones
Them
that she
things are
buys.
gross too.
Yeah, look, the first time I took a drink of that, I thought it was bitter. but yeah, I hated them, and I if it's cold, I can drink one now. I had to build myself up. I would open one up, drink half or less of it, and just like, I can't do it. Can't do it. And I'm not talking about once or twice. I'm talking about, about once a month or so. I would try one for a couple of years, and eventually over time, like I got to where I can handle it. And it's one of those things. It's not my favorite thing to go to, but it doesn't taste horrible. It's just it for the fizz. If I'm wanting something carbonated without the sugars or the artificial sugars, even, it works. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I could let you beat my back with a belt, over the course of a year, and I would eventually start to get used to that too. But
you're so dramatic, man.
I'm not dramatic.
You're so dramatic. it's just like this, man. It's just so dramatic, so dramatic. It's all about. I'm telling you. I love it, but it's funny.
Well, it's just I just can't. You know what Tanya did? Okay, this kind of, I don't know. I was like, why? You just ruined my life, But
see, there you go again. Dramatic.
Got to be dramatic, She took that milk, that Sunrise milk, whatever, real milk, non-pasteurized, and we had like so much left, and then we had a store milk, so much left, Mayfield, whatever, and she put them together, and I'm like, you just ruined that milk. Like, you just tainted the good milk with that nasty clabbered stuff. I did actually drink another glass of that with some cookies and stuff, but when one of them pieces hit me, I was like, back out. The stuff here at home that I talked about that we get in the grocery store from our local dairy, it don't have as much of the fats in it as that did. Like it doesn't have any that solidify. It doesn't have that much in it. Well,
it's definitely got more than what you get out of your other red top milks, your whole milks. But it's not, you do have to mix it up. It does separate a little bit, but it's not got any. It doesn't have any like chunks of butter that stick to the top of it like that did.
I will say it's definitely more rich. Like,
oh, it's so good.
There was no comparison when I actually let myself taste the real, not like dairy milk. It was like, wow, that flavor is way more than, I mean, it makes store-bought milk taste like flavored water,
Yep.
It really does. It's just not got the boldness or what, I don't know how to.
Right. Well, it'd be kind of like drinking regular red top milk, and then behind it drinking fat-free milk.
Man, skim milk. Oh, like God.
If you drank one and then drank whole milk, like that's how different it tastes to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Oh, and by the way, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes. Merry Christmas.
We're going to say that a couple of times since we forgot about you. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas by the time this comes out. Yeah. I'm like you, always talking about before we started the show, we're not ready for Christmas. We're not. We just get so overwhelmed, like, because, and I don't have to explain this. I know people understand. We all live busy lives. We have things going on, but see, 4 kids, church people, the rest of your family, people that you love and care about, you just try to do things for them. And it is hard to do that and keep up with all that. It's just hard.
Speaking of which, we did get one gift already. It's probably going to be the best gift we get.
What is that?
My friend here sent us an ice cream.
Oh, that one.
So when we were in Tennessee at the 127, Casey had really wanted to do homemade ice cream for the meetup as part of the dessert. And they had what's the place that y'all have there? Rural King. Rural King. It was Rural King, right? They had a big one at Rural King, and they said they had one in the store, but when we went to go pick it up, they had just sold it. Yeah. And so we didn't carry one with us and didn't have one, honestly, at the time. But anyway, I had picked one up at a yard sale, and the bucket was missing. I didn't look because it was in the box. And I thought, well, I mean, she's been wanting one. Well, it didn't work. So everything else works, but I don't have a bucket. But anyway, Caleb sent us one. Caleb and Tanya did, and I put it immediately to work and made some ice cream, and the wife was very pleased. So made some peanut butter ice cream and added some nutter butter and what else I put in it? Some dark chocolate. Chopped up some dark chocolate chips.
Ooh.
It was good stuff. Had some peanuts, roasted peanuts in it. Good stuff, man.
We have some friends that not every time they come, but often when they come over, we get together. Like, we try to get together a couple times a year, but it ends up being once a year so much.
Right.
And last time they came, they brought homemade ice cream. Time before that, and it's a recipe that my friend's, who's also a preacher, his dad made and perfected over the years. He got it just so right, and he's developed it into like it's unbelievable. It's so good. He's got cookies and cream, strawberry, vanilla. He's come up with like 5 or 6 flavors, and it's one of those things that it's so good. They'll bring a gallon, like they'll take a gallon size ice cream container, clean it, and then they'll put their ice cream back in. They brought that last time, and I think we ate all of it. Like between all of us, I had like 4 bowls. Like we talked about eating too much. I was just like drinking it by the time the night was through, but it's like, oh my gosh, when you make good homemade ice cream, that's another thing. There's no comparison. Like,
I wasn't sure how this would turn out because I didn't technically have the ingredients, but if like anyone that's been around me much, people around here, y'all have some. I'm bad about not, you have to know a little what you're doing. I'm not saying that, but I rarely just like completely fly by a recipe. There's some things like baking is sometimes more of a science than it is an art, like actual baking, and you have to be a little more careful with that or you'll have a total, catastrophe. But the majority of cooking is more art than it is science. And I kind of approached this the same way. I read about a lot of different things because I had to figure out some substitutes. I didn't have any heavy cream. And so I mean, I'm telling you, like the texture was as good as the blue. We're ice cream eaters. I'm not just saying this. It's not, hey, let's pat me on the back. That's not it at all. But we probably have 5 different flavors of Bluebell in our freezer right now. Like Bluebell's, one of our local creamer. They got different locations, but we have one in Alabama too.
Oh, really? There's a local?
Yeah, there's one. There's a Mayfield. I think a Mayfield and a Bluebell in Alabama.
Oh, cool.
I believe I'm right. I may be wrong. I know there's a Mayfield. Don't hold me to that now. You making me second guess myself. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up, but I know there's Mayfield Dairy, and I think there is a Bluebell location.
We got a Mayfield distribution center. That's about all we got.
Yeah, I think Bluebell comes out of Texas originally. I think on it. Ain't that right?
Maybe.
I think it's Texas, but anyway, we won't get on all. If I'm wrong, don't hold it against me. But that's our favorite, as far as store bought. We like Mayfield too, but Bluebell's our favorite. And the texture on this was, I literally scooped it in the bowl next to the Bluebell, and texture wise, you can't tell the difference. It's just as smooth. And the wife preferred it. Like she's only been eating that since I made it until it's gone. So that's how much I nailed it. So
Yep. You've done Hey, wait, Bluebell. Their home address is in Tennessee.
Tennessee? How
yes.
about that? You should have known that, Caleb.
Lenoir City, not too far from here. 107 Paul Nook Farm Road, Lenoir City, Tennessee. If you want to send some mail to Bluebell.
That's interesting.
I don't know that that's like their corporate headquarters, but that sounds like they're one of their main farms. So kind of neat. Yeah,
that is awesome. Seriously.
I like myself.
It originated in 1907 at the Brenham Creamery Company in Brenham, Texas.
Okay. So they have
he always has to make everything about Tennessee. I'm telling you.
Well, I'm trying to avoid a little bit of the Tennessee.
Trying to not bring it up
because they got spanked by Ohio State. Mary McQueen, if you're listening,
tell me.
Oh my God!
That game plan. What'd you think about that game plan, Caleb?
I mean, what game plan? It was.
Oh, I thought their plan was to see how many points Ohio State could score in the first quarter to begin with. And
that was.
I'll be honest with you. By halftime, I was thinking, well, they finally turned this boat around, and I was kind of expecting them to come out and score after halftime. I thought they'd finish because they adjusted well in the second quarter.
Well, yeah, they did. They started getting a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
Nico kind of came alive a little bit and broke a couple of plays and done good. And when they put 10 points on the board, I'm like, well, that's promising. Now they're just down by 11. They get the ball back. That's a good scenario. And then they come out and it's like trash, man.
They started playing out the first quarter again.
It's like, where did y'all go? Did you just check out at halftime? Or?
And all I can attribute it to is I didn't expect them. That was the only one that I didn't expect to be the way it was. I was hoping Tennessee would win, truth be told. I was kind of expecting them to probably lose because of having to play on the road. And I felt like Ohio State, if they could put a complete game together, they probably had a little bit better, more complete team than Tennessee.
Yeah.
Now Tennessee stacks up with almost everybody. I mean, I think they played them 5 times. They could beat them twice, maybe even 3 times out of 5. I don't know. I mean, I'm based on that result, I'm not sure, but I mean, that's the way I looked at it to begin with. I didn't think they were that unevenly matched. But at the same time, and the only reason I would say maybe even 3 is because I think they've been challenged more than Ohio State has.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, Ohio State, I think really for the first time that I've watched them play, I've watched them about 4 or 5 times this year, but I feel like they finally played to the level that they're capable of playing. I think everybody knew they had the athletes. I mean, as they said, I mean, it's not being ugly either. I mean, it's really, they got the best team money can buy. And people say what they want. It's not. I know they won't throw stones, and because, well, I'm an Alabama guy, well, they all do the same thing. I know it's NIL, I get that. But this last offseason, going into the season, they did have their people stepped up big time. And it's a well-known fact. They spent as much or more than any other school in the new, college football free agency to bring in important pieces. And they had the pieces there all year, and they played well, but they didn't really play up to their potential. But I'm telling you, I feel like they really played to their potential. And it showed. And
I mean, that could be a springboard for the rest of their playoff scenario, because I am not an Ohio State fan. I have never been an Ohio State fan. They're actually one of my least favorite college sports teams there are. So Ken Bill, Barry McQueen, don't hate me. I still love you guys, but I don't like
what it is.
But I mean, you got to give them props, man. They played good. And I didn't watch any other games because we had such a crazy weekend, but yeah, it seems like they came out being probably the best of the weekend.
Yeah.
Now we'll see how that goes because they got Oregon, right?
Yeah,
I believe they got Oregon.
Yeah,
we'll that'll definitely be a game to watch.
Yeah, it was close. They played when they played. Was that the first game of the? It's one of the early games for them in the Big Ten. I think was it their first Big Ten matchup this year?
I don't want to tell you a lie. I don't know for sure.
Well, we probably shouldn't be talking about it if we don't know, I guess. But it's got me curious because we didn't mention this beforehand because I didn't want to rub salt in the wound too soon.
Well, I mean, I'm disappointed. Obviously, you'd be disappointed if your team lost. But as a whole, I'm pleased with their year. They're building back where we went from, I guess it was the mid-2000s. Somewhere in there, late 2000s, when Fulmer took out, they just dropped to the bottom of the SEC almost, and they was horrible for several years. And then they turned it around and started doing a little bit better and a little bit better, and now they finally built back up to a reputable team again. So I'm pleased with that. Yeah. I think there's definitely room for growth, and obviously there always is. In anything like that, you're going to have need of growth. I mean, Nico's a really good quarterback, but he's a young quarterback. They're just like all these college guys. They're young people. They're learning. They're doing their best. Whatever, But overall, yeah, I'm happy with the year.
And honestly, I mean, not being. They didn't win. They didn't win the rest of the game. If you just look at it in a capsule and you take out that first 8 or 10 minutes. But Ohio State scored those first 21 points so fast. I mean, it's like just if you hadn't started watching the game at the beginning and were busy and tried to step in, a lot midway through the first half, you'd ought to have been wondering what happened. How did this happen?
Yep. That's
and
what I think
I did
pretty much.
Yeah, it was really hard, I think, for them even though they fought back some in the first half, just really hard to recover from that. Yeah, that first game between Oregon and Ohio State, it wasn't the first Big Ten game for them this year, but it was it was Ohio State traveling to Oregon, and they lost by 1 point was all. It was a 32-31 game. Oregon beat Ohio State, so definitely has potential to be the best of the games on the schedule this weekend, I think.
And then they'll play Georgia in the championship. I mean, if you look at the other side,
likely
Georgia's probably going to go more than likely. I mean, yeah,
I think Texas will be a tough game for Ohio State if they both get by. Isn't Texas in the bracket with them?
Yeah, if Texas goes on, I mean, that side was absolutely loaded. The other side looks like Georgia just had a heyday, you know. I mean, Penn State could beat them. Notre Dame could beat them, but it's not likely, you know, not likely. Are you thinking not?
I don't know. I mean, I'll say this. No, I'm thinking not.
I don't think it will.
I'm definitely thinking not. I don't think those teams aren't talented. I think Penn State, they're going to hang their hat on winning this last weekend as finally having a big victory against a top ranked team, in a big pressure situation. But they were playing at home against one of the lower tier teams that made the playoffs. That a lot of people would argue maybe shouldn't have been there anyway.
Yeah,
and I mean
that is kind of a
Franklin he still has yet to show up for one of the really big high profile games. Top 5 matchups, he has not fared well, period, since he's been at Penn State. So.
And the playoff is kind of a weird setup anyway, because you got your division champions, okay? So the way that plays out, that could be like a number 10 team that is in the second slot. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it makes no sense. I don't know I'm not going to say I could do it better. I don't know, but it looks to me like there needs to maybe be some expansion in that, probably. That way you get in some of the better teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's in the NFL, you've got all your division winners and you got your wild cards.
Yeah.
It always stacks out to be the best teams, mostly. I know there are some years when the NFC East is just absolutely atrocious and somebody would make it in with 7 wins, but for the most part, it always plays out pretty well.
I just, my thing is with college football, I feel like the issue this year was the focus. It's not because I'm a homer and Alabama didn't get in. It really isn't because of that. I mean, I look at it across the board, and I mean, I think it's easy to find. And it's SEC loaded. If I give my list of 5 teams or so that I think were maybe better, not more deserving. I mean, if you go by who's most deserving, you wouldn't pick Alabama. They lost 3 games. But if you're trying to pick which teams are the best 12 teams, I think it's hard to look past Miami and Alabama and Ole Miss and South Carolina. Yeah. I mean, how do you look past them to move to look, Indiana? I mean, it's amazing. I think it's amazing what Cignetti was able to do. But because you look at their history, people say, well, their schedule, and it was horrible. I went back and looked at it. They played 2 teams all year that didn't have a losing record, I think it was. Only 1 team with the winning record. One of their, and they lost that game, by the way. That was, so, it. To me, it's like, okay, you can make that argument, but then what about the fact that they'd won like 8 games in 2 or 3 seasons before that? Yeah. So, I mean, they were the bottom feeder team of those bottom feeders that were playing in the years before he got there. So you got to give them credit, but to just put them in because they're quote unquote more deserving, because, it was said several times in the buildup with Cignetti that when he was making his decision whether or not to take the job and leave James Madison, JMU, that when he looked at the schedule, one of his final, decision makers was the fact that he said, I'm pretty sure I can see 10 wins on this schedule for us. Mm-hmm. If I can get my guys in here, I think we got 10 easy, pretty much 10 easy wins. I mean, when your head coach makes this job decision based on the fact that before I get there and do anything, I feel like there's probably 10 easy, games on this schedule, that'll tell you something about the quality, but 2, whether or not they were challenged. I think that's the hard part. When you have teams like that can get in without being challenged, maybe they are better than a 3-loss team from the SEC. But without them having been challenged, how can you know?
Yeah.
I'll say one other thing, and I won't remember the exact numbers. It was like 60-something. Like on their schedule, their opponents that they played, the 12 opponents from regular season, it was a total like 65 wins or something like that their opponents had cumulatively for the year. Alabama's schedule, 97 wins. 97 wins.
That does make a difference.
I mean, it's just a big difference.
Yeah,
and,
you can tell.
And we shouldn't have lost to Oklahoma. Probably shouldn't have lost. Certainly shouldn't have lost as bad as we did. We shouldn't have lost to Vanderbilt.
We shouldn't have lost to Arkansas either. You know, but that's the SEC for you.
But even then, to be fair, both of those teams had as many wins as they did losses. They didn't have a winning record, but they didn't have a losing record.
And they wasn't horrible teams either. It was just
Vanderbilt was a really good team.
When you're in the SEC, that's just somebody's got to lose, you know, and that's just the way it goes. But
I don't think any team in the SEC this year, after the first few weeks of the season, was hoping that they would get to play Vanderbilt with Diego Pavia. I don't think they were, you know, because I feel like that was a trap game for a lot of people that they had the potential to lose.
He is a good player. He is a good player. They had a good team.
And they're probably I hadn't looked at their schedule, but if I remember right, they're probably like 10 points or less from like 9 or 10 wins. They lost some really close games, like right at the end.
They lost some really close games.
So, I mean,
they won. Did they win 6 or 7, something like that?
They won 6. They ended up only with 6 wins. But like I said,
I mean, it could have been 9. You know.
Yeah, I mean, they were that close. They were that close.
They're one to look out for sure if they keep going. But you know, in my mind, it would make more sense maybe cut one game out of the regular season and add 12 more teams to the playoff. Then you have the top 24. You can get a lot more of your really good teams in that way, and nobody gets snubbed as easy. You probably get most of your top 25 in that way. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't. The way it stacks up might be weird, but that's a hard thing to situate. And I don't desire to ever have the job of figuring out who gets to go and who gets to play. But it's better to me than, okay, we're just going to decide who plays the national championship every year, you know, because there's always going to be that guy that says, well, I think it should have been whoever. And there's good arguments on both sides. So
I think there's some interesting formats, like you said. I've thought about that myself, something along the lines of, you know, maybe if they want to leave the league championship games intact, that can be a good qualifier. It shouldn't be I don't think any, SEC included, I don't think you should be guaranteed a bye just because you win your conference title. No. I think you need to be one of the best 4 teams. I mean, period. Bar none, I think it'll be best 4 teams. And some will say, well, it is the best 4 teams. Well, it is, but it's the best 4 teams that won their title. You know? It's not just the best 4; it's the best 4 that also won their title, and that doesn't add up, you know. So, with that being said, I think, you know, maybe you could leave that in, but like you said, that have it played as the 12th game of the season, as the final game of the season, and then have a pre-qualifier game that is cross conference. It can't be, you know, you wouldn't have Alabama playing Tennessee to see which SEC team gets in at the 12th game. For that 12th game, you'd be matching up SEC, Big 10, ACC, you know, Big 12, matching up those teams that were kind of lower tier, especially to try to figure out, okay, what's the seeding going to be? And for some of the lower ranked teams, it might be an elimination game, you know. I mean, for the Alabamas and the SMUs and people that are in that 12 to 16 or 18 range, it might be they got to win this game to move on. If you're matching up 2 teams that are in the top 10, it might be to determine where they land in the seeding for the playoff.
Absolutely. There's lots of ways. But it would eliminate
some of the arguments. I think it would eliminate a little bit of it. There's still going to be some belly aching every time, no doubt. But I think it would eliminate some
every time.
But I'm not a big fan of just outright expansion. I think it needs to be integrated into the schedule that's there, or they need to eliminate the human element. If the human element's not going to pick the 12 best teams, the most deserving thing just really gets on my nerves. You know. Yeah.
I mean, AI pick.
Well, the most deserving goes back to the everybody gets a trophy thing. You know, it really does. Everybody gets a trophy. And if we're, you know, if we're playing little league, that's fine. But if we're grown-ups, if we're adults that's had to lose some along the way already, we understand the difference that, you know, you have to win to get the titles. Right. And, you know, I think and then someone say, well, that was the point. These teams won more games in Alabama or than you know, Ole Miss or whatever. But what I'm saying is, in determining, it should be the teams that are the best that have the most likely chance, not just because, you know, you also were out there and, you know, they had a pretty good record. You know,
I guarantee you they'll figure it out. You know why? Because games that are complete blowouts, like the other night.
Oh, there's
there was all them games was won by more than 2 scores.
It's
That
crazy.
doesn't make for exciting games. It doesn't make for exciting TV.
No.
And they'll figure it out and be like, okay, we're going to put the teams in there that are going to bring the ratings and the money, because that's what's going to do it. It's the money, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, whatever.
And the crazy thing is, the team that got the most flack for being in it was Clemson.
Yep.
More so than Indiana, more so than SMU. But Clemson is, in spite of their struggles some this year, they're still, compared to those teams, they're still more the big boy team than those are. They played the best of all the also-rans that lost this weekend. They played the best game. Yep. They played like a team that has been to the playoffs a lot and has a really deep roster and a solid coaching foundation that's been in place. They played like a team that knows how to prepare for those moments, but wasn't necessarily their best year at the same time.
I'll be honest with you. I would love to see SMU do good. Just from what I've seen of them, I would like to see them do good. Now, if they was to beat Penn State, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. What's the chances of going past Georgia? It's kind of like, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago when Max Duggan and TCU went to the title game, and they played Georgia, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they got destroyed.
Yep.
But they earned their way in and all that. But
they lost the Big 12 title game that year. They put them in anyway.
I know.
No, I'm just saying that's one of those things. But they're so deserving. They were undefeated when they went to it. It shouldn't have. How have we got to this point that qualifying for your league championship game and happening to lose it should not be a disqualifier? That's why they put SMU in, because they felt like SMU was still better than Clemson. But who played better this weekend? SMU or Clemson? You know what I'm saying? So, the game decided it, but I don't understand this. Well, you can't punish them.
Right? Yeah. SMU got a bye. So, we're about to find out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to find out. But I don't know. I don't think, in my mind, the playoff makes a whole lot of sense when you got
SMU played Penn State this weekend.
They do play Penn State.
No, they played this weekend. They lost 38-10.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just stupid.
Here. No, they lost by 28.
No, don't say yeah.
I didn't mean it like that.
I was looking at an old bracket. See, I didn't get to watch anything this weekend except for just the last little bit of the Tennessee game. I haven't even been updated or nothing. So, yeah, I guess I knew they lost. I should have checked into that. But
it's no big deal. It just doesn't, like I said. It doesn't
38-10. Yeah, that's not a real great. Clemson 24 to put up 24 points against Texas, and them only score 38. Yeah, I agree with you.
Texas scored late. Clemson closed the gap pretty close on them, and then Texas scored again late.
Yeah,
it was a lot closer game. It was a 1 touchdown game, like late in the second half. So it was closer than it looks on the score. So I don't know.
Do you have any predictions for that? I was looking at the wrong one. I was right in my mind. It wasn't SMU. I was thinking about it. Who are they playing?
They're playing Boise State this week.
Boise State. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, Boise State got a bye.
Yeah. I was just looking. But, okay. We'll shut up about this in just a second. I'm going to put my national championship game out there right quick. It will be Georgia, and it will be my prediction is Georgia and Texas. That's my national championship game. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. Because Texas is probably going to murder. Is it Arizona State?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Oregon, Ohio State, toss-up. Georgia, probably going to win both them games. And I think Texas beats Oregon or Ohio State, either one. So that's my national championship.
And the crazy thing is, it's like, this is the thing, like these automatic qualifying and buys and stuff like that. You got Arizona State, and I'm not trying to take anything. They had a good season. Not taking anything away from them.
But who the heck is Arizona State?
I mean, when's the last time they finished in the top 3 of the Pac-12 before they left the Pac-12?
Yeah.
And they go to the Big 12, which lost every team that had won the Big 12 championship just about in the last 10 years. I mean, they left, and they come into the Big 12, and I say that TCU was still there, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? But they come into the Big 12 and they win the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't even competitive most of the time in the Pac-12, and yet for some reason now, because the Big 12 added 8 teams all at once, to kind of try to stay alive, unlike the Pac-12 was struggling to do that. But I don't know. To me, it just doesn't prove anything. It's like suddenly you, and less so for Arizona State than for a lot of the other teams they added. I mean, it's like we pull all these teams in, and suddenly we have credibility when they weren't even, they weren't credible in their previous conference for the most part. It'd be like us trying to make a case for, and I know this makes somebody mad, but when's the last time South Carolina won anything big? They were a great team this year. Yeah. I think they were probably as deserving. There could have been a case made for them to go to the playoff. But when's the last time they won something big? When's the last time Arkansas won something big? Those are not teams that SEC teams want to play on their schedule, because there's always a chance that they could lose. I mean, Missouri made it to an SEC title game, I think, a time. When's the last time they won something big? And that can be said about the middle tier of pretty much every league. I think the difference with the SEC and a lot of the others is if you look at, if you used to look at how many teams, and I know that Oklahoma and Texas are new to the SEC, but if you said how many teams in the SEC have won a national title in the last 25 years, it's like 6 or 8 different teams.
Mm-hmm.
And most conferences have none, maybe 1 or 2, 2 at the most,
Yep.
I mean,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is still a reselling podcast.
It is.
I was just thinking, man, we talked a long time about football.
It's all right. It was what was on, and I'm with you. The games were not entertaining. I know you didn't get to see them, but I wound up not even half paying attention because they were such blowouts, and that is not the purpose.
You always want to make money, win, but it's boring after a while. It's just I don't know. But anyway, yeah.
Whatever TNT spent to outbid ESPN for those 2 games they broadcast, I guarantee you they're regretting it, because there's no way the ratings were good enough for them to make their money back.
Maybe the first hour was okay. Maybe. And after that, I bet they lost 30-40%.
Yep.
So sell anything interesting this week?
My best sale this week was a Bose Acoustimass subwoofer. Sold for $80 plus shipping. But again, not something I mean, I think I told you earlier when I purchased that, I really purchased it for all the other stuff that came with it, because it had all the wires. It had 2 sets of wires, a bunch of speakers, the little cube speakers. And so I knew I was going to make pretty good money just by selling off all the other pieces and parts. And it was a good sale. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I made good money off of it, but for the size of it, the weight, it's over 30 pounds. It takes up a bunch of space on the shelf. Packing it a while ago and it weighing 30 pounds and being, the package is like 26 by 18 by 10 or something like that.
Are you worried about getting a adjustment?
No. I was careful now. I'm not using FedEx. I'll tell you that right now. Though. I'm not using FedEx for that. FedEx adjusted one on me this last week. You know what? It was a pair of pants.
Oh my God!
They adjusted a soft pair of pants, $2 on me. I only shipped it to them because it was with them, because it was $1.50 cheaper than using Ground Advantage, and then they wound up adjusting by $2 on me.
They got that $1.50. Man, that's so crazy. Like, why? I read something on the internet about it the other day. People are saying, well, you really got to go study and figure out the cubic weight, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't care. If I put it on the eBay shipping site there, I'm shipping it. It's not my job to know that that's not going to be right. That's eBay's job.
Yeah.
They need to be accurate, whatever they got to do to fix that. If it's going to be wrong.
That's it. It's my job to measure accurately when I measure.
Yes.
And if anything, to fudge on the side of giving some to them and not to me.
Yep.
If I'm doing that, if I'm rounding everything up,
you ought to be good.
I shouldn't be in trouble on that.
Yeah, if you're a half inch beyond and you're a pound over, you should never have issues
Mm-mm.
ever, but it is what it is.
But that's the last thing I ever expected to come out to like having an additional charge.
Yeah,
I mean, it was literally it was just in a poly bag. I mean, how do you mess that up? It weighed less than a pound.
I know. How do you mess that up? Indeed. How? I don't know. Well, I sold one of the coolest things ever, and I've had this thing for like 2 years probably, and I really started to think it wasn't going to sell. But it's a vintage KC 1977. It's a toilet seat that you hang on the wall. Seriously, it's a toilet seat. And it's just a decor that hangs on the wall, and it says, "We aim to please, you aim to please." It was so cool. And it's like, I can't remember what color it was, like orange or something like that. But it was so cool. If I can get a picture of it right quick, I'll show our YouTube audience.
The last thing, because listen, folks, he didn't preface this with me telling about this ahead of time. And so here he goes into this whole spiel. The coolest thing I've ever sold. And then he says toilet seat. I mean, who's expecting that? Come on now.
Exactly. Toilet seat. Okay. If I can quit being stupid for a minute. I got to get down here where I'm not showing. Won't you hush? I know you exactly.
Oh man,
what you're over there thinking. I'm going to figure out how to share a screenshot of this bad boy real quick. Okay, here we go.
Let's do it.
Let's do this. So
he's showing a toilet seat and saying, "Let's do this."
Let's do this. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, check this out. It's like a toilet seat made into a wall hanging deal. We aim to please, you aim to please. Ain't that so cool?
Lord have mercy.
I had that forever.
How much did it sell for again?
Right at $60.
Wow.
59, 60, right at 60.
Go
I think tax and all. Tax, I don't think they had tax for it. They was at 61.78 because it's like 59 something. So they must not have had very much of a tax rate. But I was so tickled. I'm like, man, I've had that forever. I actually thought about hanging it up in here somewhere. I was like, no, I just need to sell it. Finally, it sold. Somebody will get that as a gag gift for Christmas. Good
decision. Yeah, that might be a Dirty Santa package. That'd be awesome.
It may actually be.
That'd be the ultimate Dirty Santa.
That's a good one. It's a good one for sure.
No cheeks included.
Oh my gosh! Have to supply your own cheeks. That's
yeah.
Oh man,
cheeks and streaks not included.
Man, speaking of streaks, no, I'm good. I'm just playing. Not gonna tell that story.
Oh my goodness, come on, dude.
Oh, I'm excited. It's Christmas for us in 2 days. For you guys, you just had it. But I do have Tanya some stuff this year. We had already agreed. She does this to me every year, by the way. I'm going to just preface this before I say it. She always says, let's not buy each other much. Spend $20-$30, whatever. And then she comes out with $200 worth of stuff for me, $300, $500. 1 year she bought me a 4-wheeler. 1 year she bought me a gun. And I'm like, this is not fair. Like, you can't do this. So the last couple of years I've done pretty good for her. I've bought her some, better. I've done better. This year I got her some pretty nice stuff. I've spent about $300-ish, give or take. And it was thoughtful stuff, like I listened actually. And I think I've done okay, maybe. We shall find out.
In the days after.
Yeah, we'll find out. Next week, you guys will know. But she's, Tanya's the type that at the same time, she really don't want anything. She is content. She's very content. So it's so hard to figure out what could I buy that she would actually want. Because I'm not saying she's just rich and got everything she wants, but she's content, and it's hard to buy for somebody like that.
Yep.
Because they don't want stuff that's just going to sit around. They would rather have your time or your company or whatever.
Yep.
So I do that stuff too, though. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with I reckon we are not do anything this year. We normally do, but I won't go into it. You know a little bit about it. We got some things going on, nothing bad, but that we're kind of spending on ourselves, right now. And we're kind of having to factor that into the budget for our Christmas for each other this year. So, so that's kind of taking up that budget, but it's a good thing. If it works out, it will be definitely be worth what we spent. Plus, they just had to have the truck worked on. So I'm out. Thank God it was only, like $160. As far as I know, yeah, the bottom end of the engine's good. I've got a GMC pickup from the years when they were first getting started doing that, alternating the V4, V8, in the computer system or whatever, where it shifts back and forth to try to save, fuel. But it doesn't oil the engine as well when it's in the V4, and people tend to have problems with the crank and lifters kind of, around 150,000 or so. And so mine's still doing good according to the mechanic. Everything looks fine. I just needed a tune up. So had like 3 fouled plugs and needed some work done up top, and everything seems good now. But I'm thankful for that, because 160 beats 2,000 any day of the week.
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time. We had to take Bailey's little car, and it was smoking pretty bad.
Mm.
And I figured out what it was. I told the mechanic what it was, and I could have done it here. I just didn't have time. But we got a great mechanic, man. He is so good. But I told him, I said, I'm pretty sure the valve cover gasket's bad. It's leaking. He said, yeah, those models are really bad to leak out and seep down into the ignition coils, and that causes misfires. And I'm like, well, that's what it's doing, So he caught it right off. But the oil was getting down onto the manifold, the shield, the heat shield.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it was like smoking. It looked like that thing was catching on fire.
Yeah.
So he got it fixed, and it was just $200. So that wasn't bad either.
Yeah, that's a good deal. That's good.
Yep. And I told her, I said, just going to have to live with the smell for about a week. It'll burn off everything, and it'll be normal again, but it'll stink for a little bit.
Taking your vehicle to the shop when you're not sure what is wrong with it exactly, especially like if it's, smoking, misfiring, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like that's about as bad as having, health episodes and having no idea what's wrong and going in for diagnostic tests on your body. Like, in your mind, it's like there's so many options of things you don't know what it's going to cost. And so when you get out, you just need an antibiotic shot. You got a little infection causing it. Well, that's great. That's kind of what the spark plugs. I mean, that's kind of what it equated to me. Getting out for that kind of price is like, okay, that's good. That's
good with that.
That's minor. That's quick fix. Everything's still good. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'd take that 1,000 to 1.
So I was wondering, especially with you. I know we've talked about this some the last few weeks. But getting finally, I guess, an hour in talking a little more reselling, I wanted to ask this before we go. We're kind of in that time of year where garage sales and yard sales and stuff are pretty much over. I know some parts of the country they don't end, but where we live, where majority of people live, sourcing that way has pretty much come to a stall and will be till spring. Even the flea markets tend to, if they're outdoor, they tend to have a shutdown period around here. Whereas maybe in California or Florida, swap meets continue year round. But anyway, like I say, I think it's it's that time. Winter sourcing is an issue for some resellers. I don't know that it's as much for you. I don't know about this year, but what's your plan? What's your plan for winter sourcing? I mean, you've got options like storage units or Facebook Marketplace or thrift stores, that kind of stuff. What do you think?
I'm just going to put everything I didn't put on eBay this year that I bought at yard sales on in the wintertime because I have so much. But normally I do try to buy ahead just because there's not a guarantee, and our flea market, it's really vendory. So it's hard to get like sustainable sourcing there. Our thrift stores have shot through the roof. You can find good deals. The other day I bought like 7 or 8 Haynes manuals and Chilton manuals, $2 a piece. Some of them was 10, some of them was 20, some of them was 25. But it's hit and miss. It's just so sporadic. You can't depend on finding enough stuff to carry you through 4 months of time. I also do, like private picks. If I find somebody that has stuff, I will reach out. People reach out to me. I'll try to do some of that stuff if I can. I do kind of monitor Facebook Marketplace, but our Facebook Marketplace has become so much of just it's just overwhelmed with junk. It's not even, and when I say junk, I'm not saying junk material. It's just people that are, I guess I shouldn't say junk. It's more like people like us who are trying to use that as another avenue to sell something. Because the other day I seen a Super Nintendo in the box, $350. And I'm like, so I mean, you can't do that. I can't do that because that's probably more than the eBay price.
Yeah.
I commend somebody if they get that on Facebook, that's great. But the Facebook Marketplace, man, you gotta just check it, and here and there you'll find something. We have a local sales network website too that it's very sporadic. Sometimes you'll find something there. But the most part, it's just thrifting, and trying to store up the nuts for the winter, man. Squirrel it up, basically.
I think, for me, of course, my sourcing has been hindered anyway, my normal pattern of doing things. I'm not anti-thrift store. I don't like the way prices have gone in thrift stores per se. I do think that we have to be more perceptive and probably, maybe think past what we normally spend sometimes. Yep. I think nowadays, sometimes the better buys, I was talking with a local friend that resells here, and he was talking about how he had made good scores doing this. Sometimes you got to look beyond even the places where you think that you wouldn't find, like behind the desk, behind the counter. Yep. Sometimes that stuff we think, but they're wanting $20 or $30, but sometimes there's an item they want $25 for that sells for $100 or $150 online.
Yep.
And sometimes you do better by buying that premium item and paying up for it, even at the thrift store. Because you got to think like this: if it was sitting on someone's table at a yard sale for $25 and it sold for $100, would you buy it? If they had a great resale, you'd buy it all day long.
Yep.
Now I prefer to buy dollar items and sell them for $100, of course, but
right.
But I mean, you got to sometimes think like that. But I was just saying, I do think there's opportunities there. They still miss stuff. You just have to be out there in them. I mean, when I was able to kind of be on a regular schedule of going and doing, I didn't have very many dedicated sourcing days. Maybe try to once a week or once every other week, but I would be in town 2 to 3 times a week for one reason or another. Yeah. And I would work in 2 or 3 stops for 30 minutes here, 45 minutes there, at certain places while I was in whichever town that I was visiting. Yeah. And by making those frequent stops, knowing where to go, what parts of the store to hit first, I would find things. I would find enough to definitely make it worth the trip,
Right. And it's just about being conscientious. Is that the word? Yeah. Just, oh my gosh, I'm getting a cramp. This happened one time back with Chris. Oh my gosh. I just bent my leg too much. That's a really bad cramp. This makes for a good episode, by the way.
We're enjoying it.
I'm glad.
It's not
going to work out. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I guess that's the end of the show.
You need me to talk a minute. You need to get up.
I have to get up and walk.
Get up. I'll talk for a minute. Well,
oh my God.
I was going to say too. I think with the sourcing this time of year, what you said a minute ago about kind of squirreling things back, I think that pays for all of us when the buying is good and you can find really good inventory and plenty of it to kind of put some back. But I do think too, it's always good as long as it's not something that is like just a trendy item. You have to be careful about holding on to stuff like that's kind of following a current trend for too long, because you may lose your market for those items. But if it's not something like that, if it's something that's pretty much going to maintain a consistent market, if you can find, like I said, during the wintertime, a few items in a thrift, a few items on Facebook here and there, maybe for some friends or family, estate sale or whatever. Sometimes that helps. You can focus on the new things you're finding and use the others kind of like your backup, and kind of always have something to list. And I think that's a really good strategy. I've thought about, Caleb, I've thought about doing a storage unit. I know you're trying to walk that cramp off, but I had looked at some that I was thinking of bidding on, and I think I mentioned that a few weeks ago. And the one that I had planned to bid on, they wound up taking it down, I guess, because I was waiting till the last day of the auction to go in and bid.
Yeah.
And when I went on there to look at it, one of the two I was looking at was still there. And it was the one I had the least interest in.
Right.
I was only thinking of bidding on it because I had very little in there, but I liked a couple of the tubs I seen. And so I was thinking of maybe doing it as an add-on if I got the other unit. But since the other one disappeared, off of it, I don't know how that works. I don't know if I've never messed with storage units. So maybe the people that rented it have until the day that it sells to come through with the money, and get it taken down. I don't know how that works. All I know is it went missing, but I've looked at that, thought about doing that maybe. And I have a lot of luck off of Facebook. I think with Facebook Marketplace, Caleb, I don't know if you've done this or not. I think that a good way to approach it, because of all the other stuff that's on there, I've started doing more concentrated searches. I will look for, because I do light music, so I might search CDs, or I might search records, or I don't know, just whatever. I'll do searches for toys, but sometimes you got to be more specific. And you set your radius far enough out, and you might be surprised. It's when you find those people, like you said, that are trying to finally clean a basement out, clean an attic out, clean a closet or two out. And there's people like that still throw stuff on in the wintertime because they can't really have a successful yard sale. And you can sometimes buy a pretty good bulk of stuff that way.
You can. You just got to kind of, live the lifestyle, play the game. It can't be I know there's hobby resellers, and that's fine too, but if you're dependent on it as any sort of regular income, man, you got to stay on top of it. Whatever you're doing, you got to stay on top of it. But I got to go eat a banana or drink some pickles because this thing is killing me.
One last comment on what you said there. I do. You said you got to play the game. I think that's it. With maybe people do this and don't have success. I think, for instance, with Facebook Marketplace, in the wintertime, say when you're not out doing your regular sourcing, you think about the hours you would normally spend going to yard sales and stuff. If through the week, you do better to scatter it out because new things are posted every day. But if through the week you put the same number of hours into scouring Marketplace and running searches on there a couple of times a day, checking like once earlier in the day, once in the mid-afternoon, you might be surprised at how many times you hit on some stuff, because the best stuff goes fast. It pops up, it's for sale, and within an hour it's gone or less. I can't tell you how many times it said just listed, and I was like the 10th person to inquire about it,
Yeah, and just, you can build relationships with people that way too. Let them know what you do, and if they have something else, they may call you. It's the way it goes.
That's it.
All right, this old guy got to go get some nourishment because he's falling apart. All right, we appreciate you guys.
Sure do.
And hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Do want to mention one thing before we leave. Mike Camparelli, he thanked us on a comment for shouting him out for his new channel. And by the way, if you haven't been over there, go subscribe to Mike Metco Meetups. But he made a little bit of an announcement. We'll say this on the way out. Not announced anywhere before this. He has the pleasure to announce his new co-host, everyone's favorite reseller, Mary McQueen. Should have a new video out introducing her to the channel within a week. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome, ain't it?
That's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah.
And I know Mary's passionate about this too. So, she brings a lot to the table, and it'll be exciting to see how that goes.
Yep. It's that. And, it's interesting because both of them at the 127 kind of for the first time made or associated with that somehow, right? Kind of made their debuts of going online. Even though they were known in the community, they hadn't actually, done podcasts or done anything. I know Mary come on with us beforehand.
Yep.
And then Mike, he broadcast, I think, from the 127 one night for the very first time.
Yeah, with the
with Locker Room.
Yep.
And so yeah, I mean, it's just pretty cool that out of that, and those are two of the favorite resellers in the online community that didn't even have a channel. They have been for a while. Like, everybody knows them, everybody loves them, and wasn't even thinking about a channel. So, man, what a cool thing that the two of them are getting together to do that. I feel like they're going to be really successful.
Oh, I hope so. I hope they do really, really good.
They're super smart too.
People. They're both really, really cool people.
Yep, absolutely. All righty.
Let's head out. But guys, thank you again. My leg is finally maybe going to survive. But thank you again for being here. Episode 79. Be on episode 80 next week. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, this is Two Old Guys.
Yep.
We're out of here.
See you guys.